Greetings everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Marvel May 2019. So it's time to look at the second entry in Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, The Incredible Hulk. Again, the movie, not the TV show. So, anywho, here we go. Oh, and I'll be looking at the plot, the production, and the music. So, anyway, here we go. At Culver University in Virginia, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross meets Dr. Bruce Banner, the colleague and boyfriend of his daughter Betty, regarding an experiment that Ross claims is meant to make humans immune to gamma radiation. The experiment, part of a World War II-era super soldier program that Ross hopes to recreate, fails, and the exposure to gamma radiation causes Banner to transform into Hulk for brief periods of time, whenever his heart rate raises above 200 beats per minute. The Hulk destroys the lab and surrounding area, killing several people inside, including the General and Betty, along with others outside. Banner becomes a fugitive from the U.S. military, and Ross in particular, who wants to weaponize the Hulk. Really? 5 years later, Banner works at a bottling factory in Rochinha, sorry if I mispronounced that, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, while searching for a cure for his condition. On the internet, he anonymously collaborates with a colleague known only as Mr. Blue. He is learning yoga techniques to help keep control, and is transformed in 5 months. After Banner cuts his finger, a drop of his blood falls into a bottle, which is eventually ingested by an elderly customer in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, giving him gamma sickness. Ugh. Using the bottle to track down Banner, Bruce sends a special forces team led by Emil Blonsky to capture him. Banner transforms into Hulk and defeats Blonsky's team. After Ross explains how Banner became the Hulk, Blonsky agrees to be injected with a small amount of similar serum, which gives him enhanced speed, strength, agility, and healing, but also begins to deform his skeleton and impair his judgment. Well, that's not good. Banner returns to Culver University and reunites with Betty. Aww. Banner is attacked a second time by Ross and Blonsky's forces, tipped off by the suspicious Samson, causing him to again transform into the Hulk. The ensuing battle outside the university proves futile for Ross's forces as they retreat, but Blonsky, whose sanity is faltering, attacks and mocks the Hulk. Really, dude? The Hulk severely injures Blonsky and flees with Betty. After the Hulk reverts to Banner, he and Betty go on the run and contacts Mr. Blue, who urges them to meet him in New York City. Mr. Blue is actually cellular biologist Dr. Samuel Stearns, tells Banner he has developed a possible antidote to Banner's condition. After a successful test, he warns Banner that the antidote may only reverse each individual transformation. Stearns reveals he has synthesized Banner's blood samples, which Banner sent from Brazil, into a large supply, with the intention of applying its limitless potential to medicine. Fearful of the Hulk's power falling into the military's hands, Banner wishes to destroy the blood supply. Good idea. The recovered Blonsky joins Ross's forces for a third attempt to take Banner into custody. Oh yeah, I'm sure a third time will definitely be the charm here. They succeed, and Banner, along with Betty, are taken away in a helicopter. Blonsky stays behind and orders Stearns to inject him with Banner's blood, as he covets the Hulk's power. Stearns warns that the combination of the super soldier formula and Banner's blood may cause him to become an abomination, but Blonsky insists. The experiment mutates Blonsky into a creature with size and strength surpassing that of the Hulk, but drives him insane. He attacks Stearns, who gets some of Banner's blood in a cut on his forehead, causing him to begin mutating as well. In his new monstrous form, Blonsky rampages through Harlem. Realizing that the Hulk is the only one who can stop Blonsky, Banner convinces Ross to release him. He jumps from Ross's helicopter and transforms after hitting the ground. After a battle throughout Harlem, the Hulk defeats Blonsky by nearly strangling him to death with a chain, but spares his life upon hearing Betty's plea, and leaves Blonsky for Ross and his forces to arrest. After having a peaceful moment with Betty, the Hulk flees New York. Aww. A month later, Banner is in Bella Coola, British Columbia. Instead of suppressing his transformation, he begins to transform in a controlled manner with a slight smirk. Tony Stark approaches Ross at a local bar and informs him that a team is being put together. Interesting, huh? Well, anywho, let's look at the production of this movie, beginning with the development. At the time of the release of Ang Lee's Hulk, which came out in 2003, I believe, screenwriter James Schamus, again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, was planning a sequel featuring the Grey Hulk. It was also considering the Leader and the Abomination as villains. Marvel wanted the Abomination because he would be an actual threat to the Hulk, unlike General Ross. During the filming of Hulk, producer Avi Arad had a target May 2005 theatrical release date. On January 18, 2006, Arad confirmed Marvel Studios would be providing the money for the Incredible Hulk's production budget, with Universal distributing, because Universal did not meet the deadline for filming a sequel. Marvel felt it would be better to deviate from Ang Lee's style to continue the franchise, arguing his film was like a parallel universe one-shot comic book, and the next film needed to be, in Kevin Feige's words, quote, really starting the Marvel Hulk franchise. Producer Gail Ann Hurd also felt the film had to meet what, quote, everyone expects to see from having read the comics and seen the TV series. Now let's move on to pre-production. Louis Leterrier, who had enjoyed the TV series as a child, unlike the first film, had expressed interest in directing the Iron Man film adaptation. Jon Favreau had taken that project, so Marvel offered him the Hulk. Leterrier was reluctant as he was unsure if he could replicate Lee's style, but Marvel explained that was not their intent. Leterrier's primary inspiration was the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's Hulk Grey, a retelling of the character's first appearance. He replicated every comic book panel that he penned up during pre-production for the many comics he browsed in the final film. Leterrier said that he planned to show Bruce Banner's struggle with the monster within him, while Feige added the film would explore, quote, that element of wish fulfillment, of overcoming an injustice or a bully and tapping into a strength that you didn't quite realize you had in yourself. Arad also said that the film would be, quote, a lot more of a love story between Bruce Banner and Betty Ross. Zach Penn, who wrote a draft of the first film in 1996, said the film will follow up Hulk, but stressed it would be more tonally similar to the TV show and Bruce Jones's run on the comic. He compared the script to Aliens, which was a very different film from Alien, but still in the same continuity. He included two scenes from his 1996 script: Banner jumping from a helicopter to Joker transformation, and realizing he is unable to have sex with Betty. After the studio rejected treatment by another screenwriter in 2006, Penn wrote 3 drafts before departing in early 2007 to promote his film, The Grand. Norden, that April, began discussions to play Banner, and arranged a deal that included him both as an actor and a writer. With a screenplay draft he was contractually obligated to turn in within a month. He did so, and continued to polish his draft as late as halfway through principal photography. In November 2006, a June 13, 2008 release date was set. Leterrier acknowledged that the only remaining similarity between the two films was Bruce hiding in South America, and that the film was a unique reboot, as generally audiences would have expected another 40-minute origin story. Yeah, I don't think we need that. There were previous discussions to set the first act in Thailand. Leterrier felt audiences were left restless waiting for the character to arrive in Ang Lee's film. Feige commented, quote, we didn't want to tell the origin story again because we thought people were so familiar with it, which is why we didn't tell that. One reason we made Incredible Hulk was to get Hulk into the Marvel Cinematic Universe canon. And they did that, and they definitely did that. Shortly after the release of The Incredible Hulk, Gail Ann Hurd commented on the uncertainty of its relationship with Ang Lee's Hulk film. Quote, we couldn't quite figure out how to term this. It's kind of a reboot, and it's kind of a sequel. Hurd said that, quote, requel, a portmanteau of reboot and sequel, was a, quote, perfect description for the film. Norden explained his decision to ignore Lee's origin story, quote, I don't even like the phrase origin story, and I don't think in great literature and great films that explaining the roots of the story doesn't mean it comes in the beginning. Also, quote, audiences know the story, he added. So, quote, so deal with it artfully. He wanted to, quote, have revelations even in the third act that would set this whole thing in motion. The new origin story references Ultimate Marvel's take of Hulk, which also had him created in an attempt to make super soldiers. Nordner removed Rick Jones and toned down S.H.I.E.L.D.'s presence. He also added the scene where Banner attempts to extract a cure from a flower and is emailing with Samuel Stearns, which references Bruce Jones's story. Nordner rewrote scenes every day. Whoa. Ultimately, the Writers Guild of America decided to credit the script solely to Penn, who argued Nordner had not dramatically changed the script. Journalist Ann Thompson explained, quote, "The Guild tends to favor plot, structure, and pre-existing characters over dialogue." Penn said in 2008, quote, "I wasn't happy with Nordner coming to Comic-Con saying he wrote the script." Before either Penn or Nordner joined the project, an anonymous screenwriter wrote a draft and lobbied for credit. That's interesting. Now on to the filming. Lettieri had to direct 4 units with a broken foot. Ugh. Filming began on July 9, 2007. Shooting primarily took place in Toronto because David Miller, as a Hulk fan, had promised to be very helpful to the crew in closing Yonge Street for 4 nights in September to shoot Hulk and Blonsky's climactic fight. Despite messing up the street with explosives and overturned burning vehicles, the crew would clean it up within 20 minutes so business could continue as normal each day. Interesting. The first action sequence was shot at the Culver The first action sequence shot was the Culver University battle, which was filmed at the University of Toronto and Morningside Park. The filmmakers built a glass wall over a walkway at the university for when the soldiers trapped Banner inside to smoke him out. There was also shooting in the financial district. A factory in Hamilton, Ontario, which was due for demolition, was the interior of the Brazilian factory. The site's underground floors were used for Ross's military command center. The crew also shot part of the Hulk and Blonsky's fight on a backlot in Hamilton. Other Canadian locations included CFB Trenton and a glacier in Bella Coola, British Columbia. Afterwards, there was a week-long shoot in New York City and 2 weeks in Rio de Janeiro. While there, the crew shot at Roquinha, Lapa, Chihuahua Forest, and Santa Teresa. I'm sorry if I mispronounced those names. Filming concluded in November after 83 days of filming. Nice. The Incredible Hulk joined Toronto's Green Screen Initiative to help cut carbon emissions and waste created during filming. Producer Galen Hurd acknowledged the Hulk, being green, was a popular environmental analogy, and Nordner himself was an environmentalist. Hybrid and fuel-efficient vehicles were used, with low-sulfur diesel as their energy source. The construction department used a sustainably harvested, locally sourced yellow pine instead of lawan for the sets. I guess that's how it's pronounced anyway. And also used zero or low VOC paint. The wood was generally recycled or given to environmental organizations, and paint cans were handed to waste management. In addition, they used cloth bags, biodegradable food containers, china and silverware food utensils, a stainless steel mug for each production crew member, a contractor who removed bins, recycled paper, biodegradable soap, and cleaners in the trailers and production offices, and the set department used rechargeable batteries. The Incredible Hulk became the first blockbuster film to receive the Environmental Media Association's Green Seal, which is displayed during the end credits. Nice. Now let's move on to the post-production stuff with editing. 70 minutes of footage, mostly dealing with the origin, were not included in the final cut. Much of this backstory was unscripted, and the filmmakers were never sure of including it into the final cut, and had considered releasing some of these clips on the internet. Editor Kyle Cooper, creator of the Marvel logo with the flipping pages, and the montage detailing Iron Man's biography in that film, edited together much of this footage into the opening credits. Lettieri explained in a negative test screening, where flashbacks were placed across the film, that the audience found too similar to Hulk, had resulted in compressing these to the film's start. This replaced the original opening, where Banner comes to the Arctic to commit suicide. Ugh. When the scene ends, in an instant the frozen body of Captain America is partially seen in the ice. Lettieri did not want this scene to be lost amid the opening montage. Nordner and Lettieri disputed with the producers over the final running time. They wanted it to be near 135 minutes, but the producers wanted the film to be under 2 hours. This was made public and rumors spread that Norton, quote, made it clear he won't cooperate with publicity plans if he's not happy with the final product. Norton dismissed this, saying, quote, our healthy process of collaboration, which is and should be a private matter, was misrepresented publicly as a dispute, seized on by people looking for a good story, and has been distorted to such a degree that it risks detracting from the film itself, which Marvel, Universal, and I refuse to let happen. It has always been my firm conviction that films should speak for themselves, and that knowing too much about how they are made diminishes the magic of watching them. Yeah, that's definitely true. Now on to the visual effects. Leterrier cited Andy Serkis's motion capture of Gollum and King Kong in The Lord of the Rings and King Kong, respectively, as the standard he was aiming for. Norton and Roth filmed 2,500 takes, different movements the monsters would make, such as the Hulk's thunderclaps. Phosphorescent face paint applied to the actors' faces and strobe lighting would help record the most subtle mannerisms into the computer. Others included Cyril Raffaelli provided motion capture for stunts and fights, after the main actors had done video referencing. Leterrier hired Rhythm and Hughes to provide the CGI, rather than Industrial Light and Magic, who created the visual effects for Ang Lee's Hulk. Visual effects company Image Engine spent over a year working on a shot where Banner's gamma-irradiated blood falls through 3 factory floors into a bottle. Overall, 700 effects shots were created. Motion capture aided in placing and timing of movements, but overall, keyframe animation by Rhythm and Hughes proved the necessary, quote, finesse and superhero quality. Many of the animators and Leterrier himself provided video reference for the climactic fight. Nice. Dale Keown's comic book artwork of the Hulk was an inspiration for the design. Leterrier felt the first Hulk had, quote, too much fat and the proportions were a little off. He explained, quote, Hulk is beyond perfect, so there are 0 grams of fat, all chiseled, and his muscle and strength defines this creature, so he's like a tank. Visual effects supervisor Kurt Williams envisioned the Hulk's physique as a linebacker rather than a bodybuilder. A height of 9 feet was chosen for the character, as they did not want him to be too inhuman. To make him more expressive, computer programs controlling the inflation of his muscles and saturation of skin color were created. Williams cited flushing as an example of human skin color being influenced by their emotions. The animators felt green blood would make his skin become darker rather than lighter, and his skin tones, depending on lighting, either resemble an olive or even gray slate. His animation model was completed without the effects company's full knowledge of what he would be required to do. He was rigged to do whatever they imagined, in case the model was to be used for the Avengers film. The Hulk's medium hair length was modeled on Mike Deodato's art. He originally had a crew cut, but Leterrier decided flopping hair imbued him with more character. Leterrier cited An American Werewolf in London as the inspiration for Banner's transformation, wanting to show how painful it was for him to change. As a nod to the live-action TV series, Banner's eyes change color first when he transforms. Leterrier changed the Abomination's design from the comics because he felt the audience would question why he resembled a fish or a reptile, instead of, quote, an uber-human like the Hulk. Rather, his hideousness is derived from being injected multiple times into his skin, muscle, and bones, creating a creature with a protruding spine and sharp bones that he can use to stab. His green skin is pale and reflects light, so it appears orange because of surrounding fire during the climactic battle. The motion capture performers, including Roth, tried to make the character behave less gracefully than the Hulk. They modeled his posture and the way he turns his head on a shark. The character also shares Roth's tattoos. A height of 11 feet was chosen for the character. Leterrier tried to work in the character's pointed ears, but realized the Hulk would bite them off, using the example of Mike Tyson when he fought Evander Holyfield. I felt ignoring that would make the Hulk come across as stupid. Leterrier planned to use prosthetic makeup and animatronics to complement the computer-generated imagery that was solely used in the previous film. The makeup artists who worked on X-Men The Last Stand were set to portray Blonsky's gradual transformation, which Jack Penn said that Blonsky would portray, quote, not being used to having these properties. Like he's much heavier, and we talked about how when he walks down the sidewalk, his weight destroys the sidewalk and he's tripping. It's all about the humanization of these kinds of superhero characters, showing the effects physics might actually have on them. Tom Woodruff Jr. of Amalgamated Dynamics, who created all the costumes for the Alien films since Alien 3, was in negotiations and created 2 busts of the Hulk and prosthetic hands to act as stand-ins for the character. Full animatronic was never created, as it was decided it would complicate production, set up shots for a puppet and then a computer graphic. An animatronic was used for Stern's mutating head, however. Destruction was mostly done practically. A model of a bottling machine was smashed through a wall for when the Hulk escapes the factory. The filmmakers used steam and dry ice for the gas used to smoke out the Hulk, and they destroyed a real Humvee by dropping weight on it when shooting the Culver University battle. Pipes blew fire from when the Hulk strikes down the computer-generated helicopter. When Banner falls from the helicopter to trigger the Hulk into fighting the Abomination, Norton was attached to a surface held by a bar which turned 90 degrees while the camera was pulled to the ceiling to simulate falling. Material jokingly remarked that making Norton fall that distance would obviously render him unable to act. Oh, really? Well, anyway, finally, let's move on to the music. The score for the film was composed by Craig Armstrong, who was the arranger for Massive Attack, a band that Terrier was fond of and had collaborated with on the 2005 film Unleashed. Armstrong was his first choice, which surprised Marvel, not knowing if he had scored an action film. He did compose 2001's Kiss of the Dragon. At the Terrier suggestion, the soundtrack was released on a 2-disc album, which Armstrong thought was a joke until he compiled the album and Marvel asked him why they were given only 1 disc. The film score borrows Joe Harnell's theme The Lonely Man for the 1978 Incredible Hulk television series. Interesting. So overall, I think this movie is pretty darn good, and oh crap, it just got dark, hold on. That's better. But yeah, overall, I feel this movie is just kind of, underrated, and I kind of wish that we had more solo Hulk films, but I guess because the film rights are owned by Universal, I guess that's never going to happen. But we had something close to that in a certain Phase 3 Marvel movie that I'll be talking about in a couple years. So, there you go. So, overall, I give The Incredible Hulk 4 Infinity Gauntlets out of 5. Well, tune in tomorrow as Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues on with Iron Man 2. So, until then, stay strong, true believers.